It was a Pastor Dupe. That's how girls went about in uni.
It was like, ah, this lady is not bad too.
It was Christian brother, Christian sister. So by the time I eventually knew what was happening, it was about
It's a rich man's son. You can please take them to your parents that this is the last day you will see me in your house.
Oh, let me introduce you to my girlfriend. Ha! Let's you the girlfriend.
I'm practicing OLUWASEUN God has been good to me.
Mutual friend Sheyi Oguntubo introduced us. It was just a casual introduction. And being the fine boy now, everybody's guy in fellowship, I didn't really take it to heart. And so there was another meeting, and I was trying to introduce myself like if meeting her for the first time. And the reception was cold and was like, oh, we've been introduced before.
He was a pastor in our fellowship on campus. So he came visiting. And Sheon, again, because I said Sheon was not really into all those pastor, like she just probably knew him as a pastor from afar.
I was in a relationship with somebody, so there was no way giving anybody a chance or even Sheon. But it didn't end well. And it broke my heart into pieces.
Pastor Dupe's heart had been broken. He made a big deal out of it. And then because he was, a lot of girls liked him. So it was a Pastor Dupe. That's how girls went about in uni. The next question was who's going to be next, you know.
It took a while to gather myself, and I had a pool of some people that I liked, and I had codes for them. And since Sheyi Oguntubo was part of my inner caucus, she knows the code. She knew the people involved.
One day she was in my room. I was making her hair. So Pastor Dupe came to visit me in my room. So I was making her hair. I sat on the bed. She sat on the floor.
Whilst I was in her room and we were discussing those people, coded, not expressly.
So Pastor Dupe and I had all these codes for these people we were considering. He had always told me the kind of lady he wanted. Somebody that had the beauty of his sister and the strength of his mom, you know. In line with that, you know, we're looking at, you see a lady like, is it this? Could it be that? You know. So that day he came to my room, and of course we continued our conversation about, you know, those ladies. And then all of a sudden, I remember looking at him and looking at her. Now, apart from the strength of his mom and the beauty of his sister, we had physical characteristics. Again, he had told me he would have liked in a woman. So I remember looking at Sheon, and I thought, okay, I think she has one or two of those things, excluding the strength. But beauty, yes.
She pointed her hand this way because she was plaiting Sheon's hair, or doing something to her hair. So what about this?
I was making her hair, so I remember tapping her and I did, like, I gesticulated so he got what I was trying to say, like, and he then took one good look at her.
And it was like, this lady is not bad too.
So we added her to that list of.
And she was on the lowest rank on the list. Because for me, it's germane that the person I must marry must be as beautiful as my immediate elder sister. I must have the strength of my mother. Which Sheon, yeah, quite pretty. But she looks so Ajabota-ish, not as strong. So I didn't see myself with her.
Up until then, no, because she didn't have the strength of his mom. Remember I said Sheung supposedly appeared to be vulnerable, my cry friend, no, like what kind of, and Pastor Dupe, we had known the kind of family background he came from, strong background. His mother had raised 5 boys. I honestly would not even have thought then that Sheung would have fitted into that setting.
But after a while, I was made, I'd always wanted to be the president of the fellowship, but it didn't materialize. So I was made the final year brethren coordinator, and she was made one of the assistants to me. And so we became closer.
Used to be a pastor, then in that fellowship. And so then they were now FYB. There's something they call FYB, final year brethren. So he was appointed as FYB coordinator. My sister was appointed as assistant FYB coordinator. You understand?
I can't recall now whether the vice president or the vice chairman or the secretary general of that committee. So they worked closely. Prior to that time, she didn't have any relationship.
From going to Shei's room, since they were in the same hostel, I would branch in her room.
I think over time, when she had now moved to her room, that was when it probably intensified his efforts. So, of course, he would go and visit her now in her room. Of course, I don't know what would happen from.
Say hello to her, and along the line, I was staying more in her room and saying hello to Shei if I go to the hall.
Immediately after they entered uni, I fell ill. And I remember anytime they come home, sharing with her schoolmates. I know a lot of them, her mates, her friends, her colleagues in OVCAF or OVSEF, whatever they call themselves then, because my mat used to be here. I lie down there. They will all come in, young adults, gisting. I know a lot of their stories about themselves, their parents, everything.
Also, somebody jokingly told me, this is how you're going to leave the university 6-0, and just casually pointed to her. She just passed and somebody said, oh, what about this one? And it became second time somebody was saying, what about this one? And I went back home and I couldn't get over, what about this one? And all of a sudden, I check all my lists. She must be fair in complexion. She ticks the box. She must be tall, colored lips, big eyeballs, straight legs. Everything checks out, except for one thing, long hair, which her hair was kind of short. And so there are 2 things, strength of my mother and the hair that wasn't long. But I prayed and I think I was sure she was the one. And I was like, okay, we can take care of the hair with weave on, and we can always work on the strength. So
It didn't really come over like that. But when I was getting into campus, he was a law student. He was in his final year. My sister was banking and finance final year. I was coming in. So he was the one that helped with getting the form, because that was his faculty, the processing, and finally I got the diploma in law admission into OSU. So of course I knew him, go to his house then. I think occasionally he cooks. So maybe he had cooked for my sister, I think, occasionally, and my sister too didn't really, so this guy was cooking, so, and he was also playing like a big brother role to her, playing like a coordinator role in her life, and I was also there to ask some questions occasionally from him, because I was new in the law faculty and he was a final year student in the law faculty.
interestingly, there was somebody who was trying to run a parole in the fellowship at that time, and the guy who didn't like my coming on board because he considered it a threat. And I recall there was a particular day he came to my house and he said, because I've told you, I was uncle. I was a bit older than all of them. So he said, Pastor Tukwe, good afternoon. In Yoruba, I'm looking for Sheung. So I had to be like, Sheung told you she lives here. How can you come to my house and be looking for Sheung?
We parents now, I'll be sizing them all up. with one eye. They all know I was studying them, tape recording in my mind. So everything they were saying, I could decipher. So when Dukwelu eventually came around, I could see the eagerness in Sheung. I knew some of the young men then were up to something, but Sheung doesn't show any deep interest until Dukwelu came around. So the first day Dukwelu joined them, as usual, I was on my mat here. And as usual, I kept my open mind, sizing all of them up. And I could see the eagerness in Sheung's face, the brightness, everything. And I could see Dupe Olu's too. He looked to me humble, unlike the others that were, eh.
It wasn't something that was obvious, you know. It was Christian brother, Christian sister. So by the time I eventually knew what was happening, it was about
So yes, he started the dancing around her season, you know, probably trying to get her attention, probably.
So eventually, on a visit on this particular day, she walked me to where I would get a bike, and I stopped. You know, at those days, there's no all this paparazzi of proposal. And for us then, when a Christian wants to start a relationship, it's because you want to be committed to it. It's not about, let me find out if. So I stood at the bus stop and I told her, do you think we can make it to the altar? And she was transfixed at that position, and I left her there.
I remember her coming to my room one day, and then she sat on my bed and she said, I want to tell you something. And of course, I knew what she wanted to say, but I pretended like I didn't know. So she said, I want to tell you something. Said that Pastor Dupe and I have been friends for a while, been talking, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. So I had to pretend to be spiritual about it because I knew. So, but I had to pretend. So I said, did you pray about it? You know, like normal, what we would have been expected to say. Said, yes, she did. Because at that time, I was the pastor of the zone. So she wasn't just coming to me as a friend. She was coming to me as her pastor. That she wouldn't lie to me and tell me, oh, she saw God in the middle of the night. Or she said, but I like him and I wouldn't mind going out with him. And I said, that's fine. That's perfectly okay.
I was leaving the school. We left a bit earlier than them. And she came over. She had written her answer. But as a very, very intelligent young lady, she asked me only just one question. And she said, will it be an issue if I'm more successful than you in life? And I said, in answering your question, I will ask you another question. Which name do you intend using if and when we are married? She said, of course, Adebanjo, your name. So I said, do you remember that George in the Bible, Deborah? How was she described? The wife of, and said that your success can never be a threat as long as it is to my name and we're in this. And so she gave me the note. So I read it the first time. I didn't get it because the notes, she wrote it, she said, she started a big capital letter Y and she wrote, you have. And she went to the second line, and yourself a. And she went to the third line, soulmate. Meaning our answer is yes.
It was not the kind of proposal they do nowadays, you know. I think it was later he said, oh, it was just at the Oro station. For those who know OLUWASEUN RUTH ADEBANJO, there's a place called Oro Station. I think he also asked. And like I said, the other guy, Debo, was just a friendly, soft guy. So I guess it was just easy for my sister to just, you know, they both have different versions of the story. She said another version, he will see another version, you know.
We started the relationship. Wasn't well received by all.
I remember someone who could never have been on his list, ever, saying to me that, oh, I can't believe that Dupe could sink so low, you know, to date Sheung.
Some who felt they were contenders felt, oh, why would she go for such a person? Sheon wasn't in-your-face person like me. Sheon wasn't the popular guy in the fellowship like me.
Because again, like I said, he had this persona, this loud, like of all the girls in the fellowship, he didn't even see anybody. Is this tall? Sheon was tall, very slim. Like I said, looking like someone that would break into two any moment. So it was a case of
Sheon was a quiet, reserved, pretty young lady, and they couldn't comprehend what I saw in her when I could have had access to probably older and maybe more in-your-face kind of person and fellowship. But we started.
because he had dated the person he dated before Sheon, again, was a popular, very rich, he knew how to choose them. Is it low self-esteem for him to go from this person to a Sheon? Because now at this point, on the face of it, they had nothing in common. She was a law student like him, and Sheon was just this fragile lady in banking and finance who was not in the executive at all. Again, those things mattered.
I would say this, that as a matter of fact, after a while, Sheyida introduced me to Sheon. We fell out. As in, we fell out because I was loud and there were some things going on in the fellowship that I was not in support of, and I was very, very loud. And in some quarters, it was believed it was because I was jealous. I wasn't made the president, and that is the reason.
I just kept to myself, watching. Could this be real? Is it what I'm thinking? Has she finally now let down her guard? Because she used to be very tight. She took that after myself and her mom. It's so difficult for any man to come close to.
And then we started the relationship. And one or two things that happened before the relationship that made me so confident that this is the person and that the feeling was mutual. I recall, because Sheon doesn't go extra mile, Sheon just maintain her lane. And then there was a time I was having recurrent malaria and they said I needed to take fruits regularly. Sheon volunteered to help me buy it. I gave her the money. She went to the fruit market. In those days, fruit market at K2 is a very messy place, but she got it. And I recall when she brought the fruits to fellowship, somebody wanted to take her and say, "It's for Pastor Dukwe, it's for Pastor Dukwe." I as a pro in this business, you could pick the vibe. And there was another incident in which she came to meet me at the law library. And she said, "I just came to see you." I knew where they were at permanent sites, quite a distance. And so if you just said you came to... Because she wasn't really an outspoken person. So then we exchanged picture, gave her my picture, she gave me ours, and then I said, "This one is for keep." And then we did the proposal, and then she said yes, and we started the relationship.
So I started watching. Is she now grown up? Is she letting down her guard? Well, let's wait and see.
God has been good to me.
I remember at the time my daughter finished her university, and the day to go and pack her things from school, as we were offloading in the compound, I just noticed that my daughter looked behind and she was like, "Hey, hey, 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 hey." And then I saw her jump on somebody. So I was like, "Hey, what nonsense." So nítorí ọkùnrin ń sìn, à ń kó ẹrù jáde nínú mọ́tò lọ́wọ́, ó wá fi mí sílẹ̀, ó lọ. Who is that person, by the way? So when we got upstairs, I gave her my tongue. That you don't do that. I don't know this person. I don't know how far gone your relationship with him is. But if you are this excited seeing him, you're selling yourself cheap. Because the excitement was just to the extreme to me. Maybe because of the way we were raised anyway.
I went to law school. They went home. And after a while, they were mobilized to go for the NYSC. And we became B batch of the NYSC. And we had an idea of what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to get married. So
If, with all modesty, all the Adebanjos, I think I met Sheun first, aside her husband.
went through some hurdles, parental acceptance as well, because more so her mom, she had lost her dad when she was in year one. So her mom felt, is this young lady sure of what she's doing? She's never been in a relationship. She's never had a boyfriend. And she's bringing one guy home for the first time and saying marriage.
I was lying down on the bed. We had lost their dad. My office had become shaky. They're not paying us salaries again. Thank God for what I've been able to save despite all the travels of their father's sickness and all that. She just crawled onto my side on the bed and said, "Mommy, I want to tell you something. Oh. Don't get angry. Oh. Promise me that you will not get angry." I say, what is it that you want to say? She said, she wants to get my affirmation first, that I will not scold her. I said, okay, talk.
Also, I believe she had in her mind, her dreams, her plan for her. They wanted her to go and do her master's and such things. So how can you finish school, barely wanting to start life, and what you are thinking about is settling down, being married?
Mommy, mo fẹ́ marry. I said, eh? Mommy, mo fẹ́ marry. Nínú ìtawà yìí. I think it was in September of the particular year. And the last salary we got was in June. That means for 4 months we've not been paid.
And I recall that before she used to tell me what they said, and it wasn't very complimentary. And that, and simply it was the fact that, oh, if you want to start now, why do you want to start with a beginner? Somebody you left school with. If you are sure you want to start now, there are folks who have started working. You are pretty, you are intelligent, you can attract such people. And if it must be a student, you didn't come across Dangote's child or Dantata. And so she will, when I want to talk seriously about marriage, she will say those things and say that these are the concerns.
So I said, Sheun, o fẹ́ marry. Do you know what you are saying? O tí ṣiṣẹ́. O tí ríṣẹ́. O tí ṣiṣẹ́. O mọ̀ pé kò sí salary for now. Àti ìmọ̀bi tí báǹkì máa end up sí. And you are saying o fẹ́ marry. O mọ̀ nǹkan tó ń pè ní wedding.
So we went out. We usually go out every weekend whilst we were courting. There's no place we didn't go to together. So I was driving her back home, raised the subject matter of marriage again, and she said, oh, and she now raised the concern of our people. And I kept quiet. We got to her house. I parked the vehicle. And I said to her, just do me a favor. When you come across the person in the working class or somebody that is a rich man's son, you can please take them to your parents. that this is the last day you will see me in your house. God rest your soul, Sheon Adebanjo. Sheon came out of that because she had come out when I said that. And Sheon held the door of my Peugeot 504 car. And she knelt down and she said, please, please, please. I thought we agreed that there won't be any secret. I thought we said we will always say, I said, but they can't be selling me that way in your house. I'm not hearing what you said in return. You are only telling me. So, okay, I will speak up. And I had to take her up and apologize to her as well. And from that day, Sheon took a position that I want to get married. I know what I'm doing. And please respect it.
I think I went for my MBA convocation. And my brothers now said, come on, let me introduce you to my girlfriend. Let's you they get girlfriend. Because, you know, right from primary school, we've no Dupe to be a staunch believer.
She was still an undergraduate when I met her. OLUWASEUN referred to me as her spiritual father-in-law. And by the fact also that I'm the older brother to Pastor Dupe, he calls me physical father-in-law.
Eventually, by the time we were done with youth service, it was easy for me as a lawyer to get a job almost immediately. It's just the salary that would not be fantastic. I was able to secure a job. I guess they were paying me 25,000. And after a while, she's written a lot of tests here and there. She got a job with Equatorial Trust Bank as well. And then, because we wanted to get married, I had to change the law firm quickly. And I got one that was paying 30,000. Trust me, a law firm paying 30,000 in 2003 was a lot of money.
In my mind, I say this girl is too pretty for my brother. Yes, I'm being frank. But when we talk and everything, I even thought she might be too flamboyant for him. When I saw her, you know, she is very pretty. Fair complexion. My brother, maybe he has added flesh now. He was skinny then. Shehu was not that big then, but at least you say, in my mind, this baby's too much for my brother.
And then saved up some money. More so, I never spent my LYSC money. And I told my folks too, I wanted to settle down and be married. And they laughed me to scorn, wondering on what basis? Do you know what you are saying? And I brought out my savings and I said, I think I had 88,000 then, to say that, okay, this is what I have. And they said, it seems he's serious. It seems he knows what he's talking about. And my mom was on board with it and she was like, okay, fine.
First impression was, wow, who's this fine babe? That was the first impression. Like, this babe is fine, yeah? Then second impression was like, okay, she's actually nice. But you know, I'm sure yourself say that, like, you might feel maybe it's a front or something.
Pastor Dupe was making a meal for her. She came visiting, so before she got here, he had made some few things. I helped get a few things also. And, you know, I was wondering, who is this one mysterious person? He's really... And she came around, very nice person, good sense of humor, really, then, yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you now get to meet you, you forget the looks. You look at the heart. She has a make of kindness in her.
Virtue of my extensive travels, by virtue of my professional calling, you meet people and at once you can tell who they are, you can tell what they are made up of. But over and above all this, by reason of my spiritual exposure, I can tell, just by meeting somebody for the first time, I can tell what that person is made up of. So I met Sheon and she came across as a very good girl.
You know, I'm this kind of person, naturally I submit to the will of God. So the Bible says, "He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord." Vis-a-vis is the same thing is applicable to the woman. So when a girl I didn't know with any man and eventually brought home a Christian brother that we were all in the fellowship, and we just had to submit to the will of God.
My mom was on board with it and she was like, okay, fine, go ahead. But you must be responsible enough to take care of the bills in your personal space. Food, rental, all those ones on me. But what you will wear, what your wife will wear, your ring, everything that is your personal chattel that you will be using, it's on you. Shewa and I sat down, we drew a budget, and everything came to about 500,000 that we needed, and some external things that we feel should be our responsibility. And then when we agreed to that deal, she agreed to bring 250 and that I should go and look for 250. Remember, my salary was 30,000. So, but I couldn't complain to have a lady come meet you at borderline and say that, okay, I'll bring 250, you go and look for 250. And I was able to raise my 250, got a job that gave me that money outside my salary. And then we raised it. We went together to get all the things we wanted. And
Vividly, I remembered when they were planning for their wedding. You know, in Yoruba custom, ẹ fẹ́ lọ raṣọ tán fẹ́ lò fún wedding wọn. You know, it's normal for you to let the bride come along with you so that you'll be able to meet her specifications. But here is Sheun. Anything you ask her, is this one fine? Is okay with everything? She'll just say it's okay. Even their wedding ring, because I told my brother then, say wedding ring, anyhow, that one is too expensive. Let me take you to where I did my own. Ìyàwó mi máa ti sọ pé white gold làwọn fẹ́, but they still went to that place that I told them. So those kind of things made her, she's very submissive.
We were together the weekend before her wedding. We had gone shopping and we had been called, I think by her mom or someone, that, look, there's a lot of traffic. You guys just find somewhere and spend the night there. There's no point coming all the way to K2 then where she lived with her mom. So we slept on the same bed. We went to Brother Owolabi Odekunle's house. Late Brother Owolabi, he's late now, may his soul rest in peace. And we spent the night there. And then we talked about her getting married. I was excited. I was like, this is the last night you and I will sleep on the same bed together, because after this Saturday, you're going to be married, you know.
She was, whenever she comes to Lagos, you know, I think one of our friends, Sheyi Oguntubo, who is now married, I can't remember her surname now, was attending Daystar then. So my sister, you know, I think it was through Sheyi. She now started going to Daystar. We had 71 Kudurat then, which was where she actually got married to Dupe Adebanjo.
17th April 2004. Actually, we got married 3 days earlier, but we knew where we wanted the process to end. So we never claimed that we were married, because the church then hadn't been given license to conduct marriage. But we knew where we wanted the process to end. So we stayed committed to it, and officially we reckoned with 17th of April.
I was with Sheun on her wedding day. I remember she said, "Sheyi, I'm sorry, you can't be my chief bridesmaid." And I was like, I was really hurt. And she explained to me, said, "I need someone to ensure that the guests eat. You can't do that holding my gown." And I was like, yeah, that's true. Okay, so myself and some of our friends, that's what we were, you know, doing. We got very late to church, even though Pastor Dupe had warned us not to, but we got there very late. I think we just wasted time, and then there was traffic. We got to church really late, but we had the service, and he still blamed me, because as far as he was concerned, he couldn't blame his wife. So.
When she was getting married to my uncle, and I remember my younger brother Dimlade was their little groom, their ring bearer.
Unfortunately, I didn't attend Shirun's wedding. That day, I felt like you know, when you are growing up and you are girls, you feel you have all the time. You have all your time to decide what to do when you want to do it. But what happened then was that I gave birth that April that Sheun got married. And my daughter had not gotten her immunization yet. I tried all I could so that once I can even get the BCG, nothing can stop me. I'll take the baby to the wedding. But as God will have it, I didn't get the BCG immunization. So I was handicapped.
Sometimes when we are joking, they feel that I wasn't, but it is normal. I was just, I was just reserved. I was just like, well, it has happened now, you are taking my sister.